Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to Coffee with Craig, where we talk about all things firearms, firearms policy, politics, culture, Second Amendment, you name it. We're talking about it right here on Coffee with Craig. So please take a moment to like and share the program so that your friends can join us as we're having the conversation. Also, if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook. And in both cases, make sure you hit the notification button so that you can get alerts as soon as we go live. Also want to remind you, please remember to visit fbcgear.com. That's fbcgear.com. It is a cool place to find all sorts of cool t-shirts, coffee mugs, hoodies, all sorts of 2A swag promoting your support for the Second Amendment. But it's not just promoting it. It's letting folks know that you do actually support it, because every dollar that you spend goes right back into the fight for our right to keep and bear arms. So you can support the Second Amendment and you can look good doing it. That's fbcgear.com. All right. We all know that there's been this, I don't know if it's necessarily, I think I can say it's just recently, but we all know that there's been this ongoing challenge or fight or argument, whatever you want to call it, between Second Amendment advocates and now it appears the medical community, at least those who are advocating on behalf of some of the organizations that represent the medical community relating to firearms and firearm possession. There's a big push to treat what they call gun violence. I say it's violence, some of which happens to be committed using a firearm. But they want to treat it like a public health crisis. And so doctors want to get involved, regardless of how ignorant they may or may not be relating to firearms. And they want to get involved in the process of helping to eliminate gun violence by, in some cases, helping to eliminate firearms. Well, recently there was an article at Doctors for Responsible Gun Ownership talking about this very thing, talking about this survey that has been created, that has been sent out to pediatricians, encouraging them to basically promote, for lack of a better term, gun control or an anti-gun agenda. So I wanted to invite one of our good friends from Doctors for Responsible Gun Ownership to come on the show and talk with us a little bit about that survey and kind of share their perspective on it. So with that, we have Mr. Robert Young. Robert, how are you doing today?
Hi, very good, Craig. Glad to be here with you.
Excellent. It's always a pleasure to have you on the program. So I was reading this article and I was reading some of those questions, and I got to tell you, I was more than a little miffed. So please tell us a little bit more.
Well, I think miffed should be the least of anyone's reactions who knows anything about guns and medicine. And believe me, anyone who's ever been to a doctor's office who owns a gun knows plenty about these two things to judge. This survey is absolutely toxic. It's, to me as a physician, it's funny to see this kind of stuff still being, let's use a nice word, eliminated from the bowels of organized medicine. But there's no end to it. And this is one of the worst. One of our writers and contributors, she calls herself Dr. Late Bloomer for Public Consumption, because she is a member in superficially good standing of the AAP. So she gets stuff from it, and she just detests it. And she is a great voice of reason. But I have to be her spokesperson because I don't care what happens to me in my career. It's too late anyway. It still might matter for her. So right. We got this survey, and there were a lot of things on it, but there were some questions about guns and about what pediatricians might want to do about them. Now, it's really about what the AAP as an organization expects pediatricians to do about them. No two ways about it. And she picked out 5 questions from them. And there's only one answer among 5 questions that represents anything near what a healthy response to this stuff. It is not the role of a pediatrician to ask or advise families on firearms. Right. That's the truth, and that's true about all physicians. unless you know something about firearms. And if you do, you won't be advising people to do what the AAP wants.
Well, exactly. Let me just share a couple of the questions that she used as an example. It's not. It's not. I tell you what. Let's try this one. Here we go.
Yeah.
If you do not always identify families who have firearms in the home or counsel them on removal of storage, what are your reasons for doing so? And what's clear, at least appears to me on this one, is that they're trying to make it so that, they want to know, well, why aren't you? You should be. Here's another question.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, when providing health supervision, how frequently do you or your staff, always, sometimes, or never, identify families who have firearms in the home, recommend to families to have handguns, their removal from home, recommend families to have any firearms, their removal from home, recommend families to have firearms unloading and locking away of guns, and counseling families to inquire as to the presence of firearms. And here's actually one more. Pediatrician, do you believe pediatricians should support community efforts to enact legislation? And look at all these things. Restricting possession or sale of handguns, banning sale and possession of handguns, banning sale and possession of assault weapons, banning sale and possession of high-capacity magazines, requiring universal background checks, holding gun owners responsible for adolescent use of guns. I mean, all of these things. And what's interesting is not one question about how about supporting, I don't know, firearms safety. Teaching your kids how to responsibly responsibly handle and possess a firearm.
Mm-hmm. Right, you're getting pretty agitated there, Craig.
But I'm like, it demonstrates. It's like you give all of these examples of stuff that you can do, and none of it is really pro Second Amendment. It's all about getting away or taking away access of law-abiding citizens to have access to their firearms.
Right. It's entirely anti-Second Amendment. The answer to all of these should be, I congratulate you on taking the responsibility of protecting your family and teaching your children good habits around guns. And I just want to be sure that you're familiar with the 4 basic rules of firearm safety. And I certainly would like to encourage you to go take some classes from your local NRA or USCCA or otherwise qualified instructor, period.
And the interesting thing about that is that, I granted an anti-gun doctor is not going to congratulate someone, but I always believe, no matter where you stand, encouraging people to take classes, know basic firearm safety, and to train, it's something that, whether you're pro-gun or anti-gun, should be something that we're encouraging everybody to do.
Yes, this really shouldn't be about the Second Amendment anyway. It should really be about safety. If you want your kids to be safe around guns and about guns, it's important to teach them how to be. And people who don't own guns and don't lift a finger to teach their children how to be safe around guns are just asking for it, because they're going to run into guns somewhere. And the whole idea about counseling people who own firearms to do something different than the reasons they own firearms is absurd. People aren't going to do this. And the idea about getting politically active, all in negative ways, all in blaming the gun and trying to get rid of them. I can quote you studies on each one of these points that demonstrate that they are false, that even if they could achieve this, it will not make our society or our children any safer. It's just sad because I like to be proud of my profession. I like to be proud of my colleagues. In this area, our leadership, I'm not saying our street level colleagues who really are in the trenches treating patients day after day, they know better. Mm-hmm. But our leadership has just not only jumped on the train. They've just about hijacked it or tried to for gun control for reasons that can only be explained by historic animus and fear that now go back 30 plus years.
Yeah, and it's the worst part about it. Well, the interesting thing that I always like to say about it is, I love when Tucker Carlson was interviewing a doctor on this, and he said, "Well, how would you like it if I gave you medical advice?" And she said, "Well, I probably wouldn't like it." Well, of course not, because I'm not qualified to give a doctor medical advice. I'm not qualified to give medical advice. So why would why would someone as a doctor who does not know about firearms, doesn't understand firearms safety, firearms technology, or even firearms law, what would make you think that you are qualified to consult anybody on firearms?
You got me.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, okay, so real quick. Now, I know that you guys actually offer a service where you guys can actually refer people, or at least help people to identify doctors that they may be able to get access to who are supporters of the Second Amendment and are not going to engage in this sort of how shall we say this line of questioning or this sort of stuff. Tell folks a little bit about that service.
The line, you mean, basically.
Yes, there you go.
Yeah.
They're going to lie to them.
Right. Well, we don't lie to anybody.
Yes.
And if you are someone who, to begin with, if you're a physician or other healthcare practitioner who is someone who does understand the importance of the Second Amendment, and particularly the importance of gun ownership to so many of your patients, and would like to have relationships with them that are not confrontive and disappointing to both of you, please let us know, because we are deep into compiling a database nationally of everyone who would like to provide that kind of quality care, focusing on people's medical needs and staying out of their political lives and keeping them as patients long and happily. Secondly, then, if you are a patient looking for a doctor who is going to be respectful of your gun ownership and of the reasons you do it, and probably of your qualifications to do it safely, please contact us also, because we are making these referrals now. We've been doing it for months. We're building up both lists. We don't have somebody within 20 miles of every person and at every geographic point in the United States, but we're coming closer and closer, and a lot of people have developed satisfying doctor-patient relationships out of this. It's on the first page of our website, drgo.us. It's called 2adoc.com, 2adoc.com. And if you go there and click on it, you can read all about it. You can click and fill in a very brief online form, and we will get back to you soon to try to help you hook up with somebody who cares.
Excellent.
And there it is. Thank you, Craig, for showing that.
Yeah, I wanted to make sure that I got that up so that people had a chance to take a look at it and see it. Once again, I want to thank you for coming on the program and helping us to know that there are some doctors out there that actually do believe in the right to keep and bear arms and actually do have our safety and our well-being at heart, and are concerned about our well-being. So thank you so very much for all that you guys do as well.
We're proud to do it, Craig, and thank you for all the fantastic work you've done, the FPC, big time efforts and big time results. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much. All right, everybody. Well, hey, that's going to be it for today's Coffee with Craig. We very much appreciate you guys tuning in. We appreciate you liking and sharing this program, telling your friends about the Firearms Policy Coalition. We are the home in the fight for civil rights. Got to use them or you're going to lose them. You guys take care.
If you like our videos, follow, subscribe, like, and share.